Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. The entire discussion over Section 377 has become one of the most controversial, one of the most talked about points for quite some time, and it's something that has made international headlines as well. And now the Supreme Court agreeing to hear the entire matter on a constitutional bench. Is this signifying that there is likely to be a review? It was a curative petition. The fact that the constitutional bench is now hearing it, perhaps the signs are that it is actually going to be heard now, and will there be a reversal of what the Supreme Court did, or is that not the way to interpret this? And the broader question itself over Section 377, whether the Supreme Court judgment was correct, whether these matters should be left to Parliament or not, that's what we're going to be debating in this episode of The Big Fight. And we have a fantastic panel here with us to take us through all aspects of this. Anand Grover, senior advocate representing the NAS Foundation, which has really been spearheading the fight to get Section 377 scrapped for a long time. Kamal Farooqi is a former executive member of the Muslim Personal Law Board, also former chairman of the Delhi Minorities Commission. Danish Sheikh is a lawyer of at the Alternative Law Forum, been very active in civil liberties and LGBT rights. Yogi Ashwani from the Dhyan Foundation has strong views as to why this should be retained, Section 377. Chinki Sinha, journalist, is with us. Father Shankar, who is a spokesperson of the Delhi Archdiocese. From Mumbai, Shaina NC is joining us, and also joining us from Mumbai is Pallav Patankar, Director of Programs at the Humsafar Trust and a gay rights activist. Thank you all so much for being with us. All right, let me now throw this open to the entire panel. So various issues, of course, are out there. Let me just start by getting everyone's take on what the reference by the Supreme Court now means. Is it, in your view, and I want to start with you, Anand Grover, do you think this makes it more likely that there is going to be a review? The fact that the Supreme Court thinks there is an issue of law here which should be looked at by a constitutional bench?
Well, that's what the Supreme Court has indicated, because ordinarily curative petition is dismissed. Very rarely does the curative petition actually go back to the original court. But in this case, the Supreme Court has said constitutional questions of law arise of enormous public importance. Therefore, the matter should be referred to the constitutional bench. It's still a two-step stage, that the constitutional bench will also hear the curative petition, but also look into the constitutional questions. So right. I think it's more likely than it was earlier.
All right. Kamal Farooqi, do you agree with that?
I do not know. I am not the judge. I do not know what the mind of the judges would be.
But I mean, his point is that the fact that a curative petition, he's right,
that does not give any indication as to what is running in the minds of the judges. In fact, honorable judges. Okay. We'll have to see what the ultimate decision would be.
All right. Your take?
This is a matter of significant constitutional interpretation. That's something that the court said when it was referring the matter to the constitution bench. This is something that the Suresh Kumar Kaushal judgment failed to take into account. And I think that if anyone is serious about constitutional law, and the Supreme Court of the country is serious about constitutional law, then there is absolutely no way in which it cannot recognize that under constitutional morality, there is no possible way in which homosexuality can be criminalized in this country.
We'll come to the broader issues around us in just a second, but do you think that Section 3, what the court has now done, do you see that as an indication that Section 377 may well get scrapped?
Vikram, I'm not competent to comment on what the court says, but from a Vedic point of view, from the point of view of what the entire creation is about, I personally believe, and the Vedas concur this thought, that all human beings are equal. I think a constitution says the same thing. Law is equal for everybody, man, woman, child, anybody, everybody. The Vedas concur the same thing. As far as what little I know, it is not a crime. It might be an abnormality, because there are certain descriptions given. I'll explain that how. But it is definitely, what little I know, not a crime. On the court's decisions, I would not want to comment at this point.
No, so do you believe that Section 377 should be scrapped?
No, but you have to explain to me what Section 377 is
Section
first.
377 basically says that sex which is against the order of nature is illegal, and therefore gay sex, or for that matter what they would call abnormal heterosexual sex is against the law, and you could be arrested and thrown into jail for it. Should that happen?
You see, that is what I just explained to you, that what the Vedas view is. I will just concur that view. The Vedas say it's all okay.
No, so
it's all okay.
I'm still trying to understand what you're saying. Should it be criminalized or not criminalized? I mean, the Vedas are not saying something about, it's about Section 377. It's not there in the
entire
Vedas.
constitution is based on what our freedom fighters, what our ancestors, what our religious overtones have been.
So-
it's based on that, first of all. So you have to understand, I'm coming to it, what you have to understand is what the constitution is, not what you and me have made, what two people have made. It's what the entire culture says, what the whole society says.
Right.
The
Section
Constitution-
377 actually comes from the British times. So that's
Yeah.
the first
So-
thing.
so if
So
it
now
comes-
let's turn to the legal aspect. Let's just, what's going to happen with what the Supreme Court is going to do in the constitutional bench. Obviously, it's for the courts to decide. Well, let's just try and discuss what we think they may or may not do. What are the legal issues around this? Shaina, do you want to come in on this from a legal point of view? And you know a lot about law. Is there a case to be made on the basis this statute has been there for a long time, and essentially what happened at the High Court, if you can understand the history of the whole thing, High Court essentially said that it is a violation of fundamental rights and equality in particular to say that one particular type of sexual orientation should be criminalized. I mean, you can argue about whether you're criminalizing sexual orientation or a certain form of sex, but that's essentially what it amounts to. Supreme Court came back and said, well, yes, it's not for us to make up this mind, it's really for Parliament to make up its mind. What in your view is the legal position? What should the courts be doing?
I think 2 points very clearly. One is you cannot have a regressive law of 1860 which suggests that two consenting adult partners, irrespective of what their preference, should be criminalized or put into jail because of their choices. The private space of any adult and consenting adult is absolutely their own. So it is a regressive law which is not at all acceptable in 2016. My views may be otherwise. I may believe that the conservative thought of process of marriage as an institution needs to be safeguarded. I may believe that procreation and children and progeny is the way forward for any civilized society, and abnormalities should or should not be accepted. But that's another aspect. I think as a society and as a country as a whole, we are inclusive. So however much we try to sway away from a thought process which is different to ours, we must be accepting
So
and
let me
understand that
understand
a
your
criminal
position. I'm trying to
conducts
understand-
an act of criminality, and it is not something for which
Okay, so the
two
government
consenting partners of the LGBT
took a
community
slightly
should be
contrary
put
stance. If
behind
you look at
bars.
what happened in the United Nations in March 2015, that really wasn't the clear stance that the government has taken.
Nobody from the LGBT community should be put behind bars. Any other aspect vis-a-vis homosexuality or lesbians, etc., is debatable. Whether Parliament is ready to actually discuss and deliberate and go even one step further, I think that we as a nation are extremely conservative, and yes, it will take some time, but the first step is to get rid of Article 377
Why
and
didn't you
ensure
allow
that nobody
why
is
didn't you
put
allow
behind
Shashi
bars.
Tharoor why didn't you allow Shashi Tharoor to introduce a private member's
I
bill
knew
then?
that question was coming.
It's a
I
pretty
knew
ob-
that question was coming, and
I
I was
also
as
knew the
honest
question
as I
was
could be
coming.
when I said we are a conservative society. There is a thought process. I'm not sure if we are ready to discuss and deliberate yet in Parliament. The first step would be to decriminalize and then go the step further.
Okay, okay. So now that you've said what you've said, it brings us to the crux of the legal discussion, in a sense, around what the Supreme Court therefore said. Let's come to the crux of the constitutional question. Chinky, if I understand this correctly, and tell me if I'm understanding this correctly, what the Supreme Court essentially said when overturning what happened, what Justice Shah's judgment, they said it's not for the courts to make up their mind on this issue. This is a matter for Parliament. Parliament should take a view on this, and Parliament should therefore pass the law. That in a sense is a slightly majoritarian view to take, because if the courts are going to say, go to Parliament and get laws passed, that sometimes could go against minorities. You could have various aspects that are constitutionally somebody's rights, but are not popular. And Shaina says that maybe somebody shouldn't be jailed, but it's not the right thing to do. It could be abnormal. All those things will come up. Is it correct to say that Parliament should pass laws on it, or should it be the court's job to actually protect that person's fundamental right?
I think it should be the court's job. I think the courts recognize that there is something called the third gender. And if you recognize that there is a third gender, you can't take away their right to express love or to have sex in whichever way they want. So when you recognize that, you should also recognize this logical corollary of the same court's position.
See, actually, the Catholic Church has been very clear. I've said it repeatedly that the homosexuals, they have to be respected and they should be looked upon with compassion and sensitivity. And any sign of discrimination, unjust discrimination, should be avoided.
No, sir. It doesn't work like that. No, sir.
No, just let me.
I mean, so does that include jailing them or not?
That is discrimination. I'm saying.
Is it?
See, that's what
Should they be jailed?
Just let me finish. That's I've always been saying there is something called legal aspect, something called moral aspect. Okay.
Fine.
Having said that, every crime could be a sin for me as a Catholic priest, but every sin need not be a crime.
Fine. So you seem to be also saying what I think Yogi Ashwini was saying, and I'm going to get Kamal.
No. See,
this. Are you saying that they should be jailed for sex? That's what Section 377 says.
But
it's not about morality. It's not about right or wrong.
My question
it's about jailing somebody.
No. My question is, does it discriminate? If it does discriminate, it has to be stripped out. Yeah. If it does discriminate, that is. So, it's up to the parliament or the courts to decide, not me. So
you wouldn't have any problems with the court. Why then are all of you, I'm trying to understand who's fighting in courts against this. Kamal Farooqi, should it be illegal? If everyone's agreeing that it shouldn't be decriminalized, it should be decriminalized, what are we arguing about? Why is this matter in court?
Good number of audience you have last time also collected, this time also collected, who would always have a clapping on anything which goes in favor of all those things without even appreciating
what all
actually
those things.
All those things.
Right now we're debating jailing people.
They're not
I think
educated people.
Yeah, so I'm also educated. Swami Sahib, I'm also educated. I'm also educated, but at the same time,
I don't know what you are talking about.
It will not deter. It will not deter. It will not deter me of having my own point of view.
Can we allow him to
It will not deter me of. It will not deter me of having my own point of view also, sir. You have got a right to have your own point of view. You have got yes, but yeah, you have got a right. I have also got a right. You have got a right. If you want me to, I can speak. If you don't want me to, I can.
Please speak.
So, as far as why you have called me here, because you have called me as a representative of the Muslims. So, I have to give the Islamic point of view. As far as Islam is concerned, it does not make any discrimination between the man and a woman or any other creature which has been created by Almighty. And we are nobody to discriminate with them. God has been kind enough to produce all kind of its people around or the nature around, and we should not treat them in a different manner. Having said this, there are morality which have to be respected by the society. As far as we are concerned, under no circumstances, even if the entire country says like this, even the entire world says like this, as far as this homosexuality is concerned, it is forbidden. Like we have got certain norms. Like we say that as far as the wine is concerned, this is not acceptable. As far as the pork is concerned, this is not acceptable. Right. As far as the living relationships are concerned, which are being propagated so much, not acceptable. As far as this homosexuality is concerned, not acceptable to us. As far as the Islamic rules are concerned. As far as coming back to the constitution.
No, so hang on. Let me take that one step forward. So therefore, by logical extension of what you said, you can say that all of these things are haram as per Islam.
Absolutely.
If somebody does one of these, we will excommunicate that person. He will not call him a Muslim. You can say that it's condemnable.
Come on.
But hang on. Some other person who is having sex in the privacy of his or her bedroom.
Please.
Why should that person be
jailed? I have not said this. I have said, that's the reason I have given you certain examples also. As the wine, a man who is drunkard, it is definitely, will try to create a society where the people should not, and that is a part of the constitution also.
But a person getting drunk in the privacy of his or her bedroom, should that person be jailed is the question.
Any drunkard person should be criminally assaulted or should be put in like this, unless there are certain, like in Gujarat, if you are found with some bottle of whiskey, you would be jailed. Because this is not allowed over there, or if you find in the
I agree with you. I agree with you. We should have a separate discussion on whether people should be jailed for having a bottle of whiskey. I agree with you. It's a valid point. But I am again trying to understand. So let's just understand what we are all arguing about out here. First of all, is the question of criminalization, right? And I'm hearing from most of you that you're not completely sounding convinced about the criminalization of it. Is it your view? I'm just trying to understand. Is it your view, therefore, that if two people, consulting adults, are having gay sex, in the privacy of their own bedroom,
yes,
they can and they should be arrested for it.
we are nobody to barge into their private rooms, and we are nobody
That's
to
what
unnecessarily
Section
get into
377
it.
essentially
Yeah,
implies.
that's the reason. Say unfortunately, lot of laws, criminal laws, are being used by the police in a different manner. We know it every day. We say it that the police getting the authority, they use it, and if they are using like this,
And that's the worst
we are
part of
against it.
Section
We are
377 because
against
it's
it.
used to harass, blackmail, and terrorize
no
people.
question
That's
of any
the issue.
harassment, but under no circumstances, I am saying the kind of action should be legalized.
Okay. Legalized. Okay, we're not talking about decriminalization.
I'll tell you why.
as opposed to
I'll
legalization.
tell you, sir. This is the second step.
Okay.
This is the second step. One, that yes, take out 377 from the constitution law. As far as the constitution is concerned, and my almost all the legal luminaries are here, the creation of the law is the duty of the legislature, not the judiciary.
I'll tell you why that's a really dangerous argument, the one which you have
whatever,
just said.
whatever.
And I'll come to why it is. But before I finish
we can
that,
discuss it at some later stage.
I want to discuss it now, and I'll tell you why it's a dangerous. Why there's a dangerous precedent in what you're saying. I'll just come to it in a minute. Pallav Patankar, just want to get your sense. We are hearing a lot of people saying that they have problems with homosexuality and they have problems with, which is okay. That is something which can be discussed and debated, and let's go in and discuss and debate that. I'm at this stage still trying to understand, therefore, the concerted opposition in court, because the debate about scrapping 377 is not entirely a debate about whether gay sex is good or bad or right or wrong or moral or immoral. It's a fundamental question about whether it should be a criminal activity. And we are hearing from many people out here, including those who say that they oppose gay sex, as saying it shouldn't be criminalized. Nobody should be sent to jail for that. Who, therefore, in court is really fighting for it, to say that it must be a criminal activity?
Vikram, I do not know how to answer questions on law. I am on the grassroots. I am down at the ground right now trying to address real issues of real people out there. First of all, the language which is used on the show in terms of choice and preference. Now that's where I think the problem lies in the semantics of this. Homosexuality is not a choice or a preference, it's your orientation, you're born with it. Because when you use words like choice or preference, you would think that you could change your choice and preferences. You cannot. Okay, that's where the fundamental flaw in understanding gender sexuality lies in this country.
I know so
Second thing, on an everyday
Good.
basis, on an everyday
I'm
basis.
sorry.
I'm sorry. I have heard you out. You will hear me out. I am sorry. You will hear me out.
I don't think what
You will hear me out.
Part of it.
Hear him out, please. Hear him out. Give him a chance to speak.
No. Excuse me. I will. You are talking me down. Let me hear. Every month,
I'm not talking
there
about. I know
are
people.
every month there are at least 2 to 3 cases
40, 50,
of people who are being harassed, extorted, blackmailed on behalf of because of Section 377. Section 377 just does not affect the LGBT community, it affects the lives of the families, of the brothers, sisters, as well as the people LGBT people get forced into marriages with. Every month we have 3 to 4 marriage counseling cases where marriages are not working. If you think that this is all about LGBT people's right to assert their sexuality, it's not. It's about doing the right thing in society and by virtues of the articles of the Constitution which are secular in nature, uphold the secular nature of the Constitution and do the right thing. I can see the problems on the ground right there. You are not there to see it, and you are not there on the TV show to see it either. Please address what happens to those everyday people on the ground who may not even be English speaking or elite as I am or privileged as I am, and how will you deal with their issues? You are not really representing the people who you claim to do.
He's referring to gay, lesbian, other people on the ground who therefore get blackmailed, harassed. The threat of arrest is held over them.
So when he's saying you are not on the ground to see all this, who is he referring to? Out of all of us?
I think you were speaking to him, so you can answer.
You are not on the ground.
Do you know me?
Yes, I'm speaking to you.
Do you know me? I think we should
I can't see your face, but from what you have to say, I don't think you know.
Do you know me? You don't think?
You are representing a minority community.
I think you need to get your mind
Do you understand minority?
He is not actually.
This is a very serious issue.
It's Yogi Ashwini speaking right now.
Right now, I'm going to get my head examined.
Yes, I think you need to,
that's a very erudite argument.
Suppositions without having
That's
any
a
basis
very
to it.
erudite argument.
You don't even know me,
Get my
and
head
you're saying I'm not
examined.
on the ground. Do you know what all I do? For how many children come to me?
No,
do you know how many I counsel?
Tell us.
Do you have any idea about
what
Dhan Ashram, what all we do? How many children come to me? Just you making a question, just making a statement off
do
the
you know
hook.
what I
Doesn't
do?
make sense
Do
at
you know
all.
what the Humsafar Trust does?
3 to 4.
I think we're getting
40
derailed.
cases every day.
In fact, I
of
don't
these
think
kind of
we're getting
things.
derailed. I know we're
I'm
getting derailed.
right.
Can I just come back to
Vikram, I think the fundamental question that everyone seems to be unanimous on out of your debate is the fact that everyone says that Article 377 needs to go. You cannot have people being put behind bars. That's at least a positive start to go ahead with.
Yes,
so if you have this unanimity on your panel, I think that in itself is one area to agree on. The others can be
It's
discussed.
not a complete
deliberated
unanimity,
on.
by the way. There's shades of grey.
She's putting.
There's no
she said
unanimity.
there's no
There's shades of
unanimity.
grey out here,
Isn't
even
that
on the
a
panel.
majority?
Yeah, there's no unanimity on it, China.
No, I mean, we have
would
already a
like to
Muslim
put
council
this
law board
forward.
here.
But there's a
And I mean, I just have
90%
I have
if
one
I
more
may.
question here because,
Yeah.
you know, Sir claims to represent the Muslim community. Now, I'm Muslim as well. And I guess my question to you would be, can you tell me what the community has gained in concrete terms by opposing the Nas Foundation judgment? Because I can tell you what we have lost. And what we have lost is this. Nas Foundation was never about just sexual minorities. The judgment interpreted Article 15 of the Constitution to talk about horizontal discrimination, to talk about how discrimination impacted everybody across the private realm. Who suffers housing discrimination the most in the country? Muslims, right? So when you opposed the Nas Foundation judgment in the Supreme Court, you betrayed the Muslims in this country. That is what you did. When we lost that judgment,